Hey there, this is Cupcake Traps streaming the first of three featured matches on November 5th, 27 CLE. This match is between Icathia and Noxus. The dispute arose when the Noxian High Command rounded up some mages in Noxus whom it accused of practicing forbidden Icathian witchcraft and sentenced them to the arena, and Icathia has intervened on their behalf now. This is a set of sort of intermission featured matches which are not connected directly to the current arc, which is Kinfire between the Freljord and Shadow Isles, in order to inject a bit of variety. So I just ran the rank check here. People actually started before I was typing in the rank check, and someone hit start before them, which is cool, you know. Nice to see that eagerness. Unfortunately, I suppose the rank situation is pretty bad in that with n equals 13, this matchup, high gold low versus high gold low is an 85% win rate for Icathia in this case. So gonna be a bit rough for Noxus. Not that Noxus is one to shy away from a tough fight, but this could push that to the limit. So, of course, the interesting thing with Icathia is how very small its roster is. I think they have 6 champions total. They declined to bring Rek'Sai. Now, Noxus is a pretty strong faction. They've done well for themselves in past arcs, I would say, although they recently lost against Zon in Insurrection. We'll see. We'll see. Got another minute on the clock here, so let's see. Well, I suppose we could review these two factions and what's up with them lately. Noxus got in a bit of a spat with Zon recently and lost control of their Shuriman city of Kahar to Zon. As for Icathia, they actually had a defeat in their previous arc as well, which was Divinity. But they're continuing to be as spooky as Icathia ever is. Noxus and Icathia, of course, some bad blood, at least on the Noxian part. I'm not sure. I guess for Icathia it would be bad Ichor or something like that. The Void War reduced Noxus to second tier status for a while. That was a few years ago now. And while Noxus is pretty open to whatever kinds of dark sorcery will give them an edge, they are not fans of extra-dimensional summoning things that can wreck the city. Check Annie's background for a bit of a version of that. Her parents were witches who were kicked out during some of the inner turmoil in Noxus. that her parents were witches who were kicked out. It's a fun match in that these are just two very kind of dark, scary sort of factions. Bad guy versus bad guy, as it were. If you're a type to view Noxus as a bad guy, of course. Not everybody. Scary sort of factions. Bad guy versus bad guy, as it were. If you're a type to view Noxus as a bad guy, of course. Not everybody. And we have arrived on the fields of justice. Spectators, please do be careful. There are protective enchantments around Summoner's Rift, but with Cho'Gath on the field, joined by Kog'Maw and other void beings, there is always a danger of some secondary damage to the spectator area. There was that unfortunate incident last year. And Noxus immediately brings down Kog'Maw. They had this ask him a few questions. It's a nice first blood. Like I said, this is definitely a slanted tier matchup. The summoners on representing Icathia are much more experienced, and our analysis indicates an 85% chance Icathia winning based on rank alone of the summoners involved. That said, it's not just the summoners. Obviously, it's the champions as well. And while the Noxians may be grumbling about their less experienced summoner backup, Noxians are not the sort to just pout and lose. Noxus is trying to get that Kog'Maw a second time in lane. Has to back off, though, after some return fire from two very dangerous void monsters. Draven will go down, and although Morgana attempts to take Kog'Maw in return, she is not successful. Kill total is now in Icathia's favor. Have to be very careful when approaching creatures like Kog'Maw and Vel'Koz. They are quite tricky. LeBlanc manages to snare Cho'Gath and take him down in top lane, but Kha'Zix is on the hunt and will likely take her in return. Some fancy footwork. And will it work? Oh, very nearly. LeBlanc's summoner almost saved her champion with their champion. I'm not familiar with the gender of a promiscuous fox. These names are unusual. Again, the book they keep at the Institute is somewhat eccentric and assigns summoner names that do not always make a lot of sense. There's various theories, many papers written in the Institute of War as to why it chooses the names that it does. But in that case, summoner, a promiscuous fox, very cleverly used a teleport to try to escape from that gank. But Kha'Zix was a little quicker. And thus, LeBlanc was transported to the fountain by an altogether less pleasant means. Specifically being mauled by a razor-clawed void monster and devoured in top lane. Another exchange of fire in bot lane, the net result being more data for Vel'Koz to analyze. LeBlanc is back in her lane, trying to hold back this Cho'Gath. A tall order, no pun intended. Whittling Cho'Gath down. Now here in mid we have two masterminds of their respective factions, Malzahar and Cassiopeia, both renowned for their strategic cunning. Very interesting to see them mano a mano, as it were, here, although I'm not sure either could properly be described as mono. Two hits from the tower brings Malzahar down low. You know, Noxus is actually holding on to this this match much better than one might have expected. More scrapping in bot lane. Noxus is quite low though, and will have to make a strategic withdrawal, I believe is the Noxian military term for that maneuver. Kha'Zix is heading mid. And with Cassiopeia that far forward, looking for a kill onto Malzahar, Kha'Zix will probably be able to flank her. Yes, and their Malzahar channeling the fury of the void to put her in place, but at the same time, in bot lane, Sion hacking into Kog'Maw again and again. With a shield from Morgana, may survive? Yes! Incredibly survives, and now we have Draven potentially getting a kill onto Vel'Koz, but there's a teleport coming in. Draven chases the kill as he is wont to do. And the teleport ends up not being necessary, but I suppose it provided some moral support. That was again a summoner of Promiscuous Fox. It seems to be quite a frequent user of this teleport summoner spell. Teleport, of course, is one of the more dramatic spells in the summoner arsenal. Able to move a champion from one position on the field to another in a matter of seconds. This fight here at the, as it's called, the red buff. summoner jargon being what it is. Kha'Zix takes down Scion, but his victory is short-lived. Killing an undead behemoth is not always that much of a setback for said behemoth. Certainly not as to their killing power. Now we have LeBlanc running literal circles around Cho'Gath, who has to make a tactical withdrawal of his own. I think these Noxian summoners are giving it their all, and their champions expect no less. But here we have Malzahar downing Cassiopeia once more. Malzahar, frequently considered the mastermind of Icathia, its prophet, herald, and sometime general, if a military rank could be used in any but the most symbolic terms for a force such as the Void. We see a very cunning turnaround by Kog'Maw and Vel'Koz in bot lane. And a joint takedown of Cassiopeia in top lane. Reversing that though, LeBlanc visits mid and drops down Malzahar. Now, I mentioned a recent setback for Noxus in Kahar, and of course, Cassiopeia is known for her Shuriman connections and has assumed the role of governor of the Noxian territory in Shurima, won during the War of Shuriman Independence. She was less directly involved in the Kahar affair. Many very speculated reasons as to why she might have taken a somewhat of secondary role during that conflict. Kha'Zix finds Scion attempting to take down a ward in that river near the dragon and brings him down. Now, Cho'Gath, quite low, but a nice knockup and devours LeBlanc with one chomp. Very clever reversal there by Cho'Gath, who is not the dumb brute that he might appear. His intelligence has been described as sinister in its inclination and remarkable in its power. Some might even question the wisdom of bringing him onto the field of justice and psychically linking him to the most powerful mages in Valorant. Seems like that might end badly, but, well. And Kog'Maw brings down both Noxians with one burst. But I should clarify, I have checked the Institute and they have confirmed there is no confirmed long-term risk of summoning Void champions or linking with their minds. Quite safe. LeBlanc's attempting to hold this tower and indeed takes down Malzahar, although I believe the tower itself will fall to the Void onslaught. And so it does. Now, all of that said, I should, of course, remind all summoners that if after linking with a Void champion on the field, perhaps several times, you may begin to hear voices, see things that others do not see, you are encouraged to report to the infirmary for an evaluation, purely as a precautionary measure. Sion and Cho'Gath trading blows evenly, but in comes Kha'Zix. Makes it decidedly less even. Now the balance has rapidly swung in Icathia's favor. But the Noxians are pushing hard bot, trying to gain some map pressure. They do elicit a defense from their counterparts, Vel'Koz and Kog'Maw. More kills for LeBlanc. She is doing quite a bit of damage to this Icathian lineup. But speaking of damage, a grievous damage done by Cho'Gath's gigantic Icathian maw as he devours Cassiopeia. Icathia has unleashed the Rift Herald to destroy mid-tower, and it looks like it will be successful. Sion falls once, rises to fight again, and falls once more. Likely also a champion who takes a bit of a toll on the summoner. Yes, we are really seeing the Icathia reverse that arguable early invasion. What an interesting play by Kha'Zix and his summoner. But LeBlanc is, but Nox is just a little bit too quick for that to succeed. Morgana's trying to pin down this Kog'Maw, but can't withstand the damage that he outputs. We have Sion vaporized by the Vel'Koz beam, only to be reanimated once more. Yes, perhaps this match is evidence that one should not discount the indirect but substantial role played by a summoner on the fields of justice. Certainly the champions are the ones on whom the spotlight seems to be shown most often, but here we see a cod of highly experienced summoners assisting Icathia, and I think their expertise and many matches upon the field are no small part of Icathia's demonstrated ability to reverse that early game advantage and convert it into what is now a crushing 10k gold lead. An interesting situation here. Those Cho'Gath and Kog'Maw are able to drive back virtually the entire Noxian team, even though their reinforcements were quite far away. I suspect that was a matter of lack of vision on the Noxian part. They couldn't be sure that the rest of those void monsters were not mere footsteps away. Although I'm not entirely certain which, if any, of members of the Icathian lineup have feet. Icathia is pressing its advantage. They have quite a bit of gold on hand. They're continuing to push in. But at last Noxus does repel them from their base. I spoke clearly too soon. Or did I? Continual back and forth, reversals of reversals of reversals. Noxians are a proud people, and they will not take this loss easily. They are fighting back to the last. Cassiopeia seized and brought down nearly the same for Draven, although Morgana manages to rescue him. And a devastating reversal by LeBlanc. The particular origins of LeBlanc's magical abilities are not entirely known to the public, nor to myself. Curiously, given the Noxian tendency to employ what is called dark sorcery in most circles, she appears to be using some manner of light magic that is decidedly not Demacian, or so it would appear. Truth be told, it's hard to say. There are some who think she might well have somehow acquired some Demacian light magic learning. We have a fight up in top near the Noxian base. And despite some good coordination by Noxus, they simply cannot hold back the raw power that Icathia has accumulated. And a second inhibitor for Icathia that will greatly increase the pressure on the Noxian base. Icathia is bringing down Baron Nashor. Crafty attempt by LeBlanc to score the killing blow and steal the buff for her team is not successful. Scion is buying a little bit of time for Noxus, slowing their advance and giving Noxus time to mount their what may well be their final defense. Morgana is attempting to shield Cassiopeia from Malzahar's Icathian sorcery, but fails to hold it back. Eventually it is an axe from Draven that brings down the Void Prophet. Cho'Gath now withstanding the impact of both of those towers simultaneously. And with only Scion to defend, this is a victory for Icathia. As was said, not an unexpected victory given the rank imbalance with an 85% predicted win rate for Icathia, but I do believe Noxus has certainly in the early game fought back hard and acquitted themselves well on the fields. This victory for Icathia has surely secured the release. I can't say for sure, but hard to imagine the league ruling otherwise once this match has set the stage for the ruling, such as it has, for the release of those accused Icathian witches back to Icathia from Noxus. Definitely an embarrassment for Noxus, which does not much care for the league exercising jurisdiction within its borders. Well, that concludes our first match of the day. The next will be beginning in approximately 15 minutes. Summoners and spectators are encouraged to visit the concession stand near the Fields of Justice for beverage or light refreshment. However, they are cautioned not to attempt to feed Kog'Maw. Again, there was an unfortunate incident a matter of months ago where, well, perhaps we should not end on such a grisly note. So with match 1 complete, we are now preparing the Fields of Justice for the second match between Bandle City and Piltover. A dispute over the use of Piltovian hexcast relays, which the Yordles say interfere with their attempts to communicate with their mothership, which has launched from the Great Launchpad during the Divinity dispute over the Guardian Sea Nexus and is now exploring the stars. It's my understanding that both Bandle City and Piltover are actively seeking summoners to assist them on the fields. Summoners so inclined should report to the fields promptly, as we will begin arranging this match within moments. Thank you, summoners, for joining this Hexcast. May peace prevail.